Alright, joining me now are writers for Rick and Morty and for the upcoming YouTube Red series Good Game, Erica Rosbe and Sarah Carbiener, I'm so sorry, I had it right.
No, you said it right,
Oh, I got it, alright. Awesome, well thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Let's talk a little bit about the new series that's coming out on YouTube Red, which is video game related. It's also esports related, and that's Good Game. How did you guys get involved with this game? Or with this TV show? Internet show, whatever you want to call it.
That weird in-between media.
Yeah, exactly. So we were pretty early in just working on Rick and Morty, and Dan Harmon came into the writer's room one day, and he'd overheard Sarah talking about esports, and someone had just pitched him the idea for an esports show, so he needed writers, so he was like, hey, do you guys want to work on this? So we're like, yes.
Yes, and so Michelle Morrow and Jesse Cox, who are the creators of the show, they brought him the idea, and I think that first meeting we weren't even sort of sure what shape it was going to take, and then a few months later, Harmon set it up at YouTube, and then the Game Grumps became involved, and after that they were like, hey, you have a full series order, go. And at that point, it had all been hypotheticals, because there are always a lot of, ideas, and this looks like it might happen, and this just came together so quickly that it was amazing. It was unreal.
Yeah, so it was almost like within a year we were done with the show. And it premieres on August 30th on the Great Game Grumps channel on YouTube Red.
Game Grumps is kind of diversifying a little bit. They just released a video game with Dream Daddy. Now they're branching out even more.
It's awesome. It's so much fun. I just started playing it, and it's absurd and wonderful and weird.
Can you explain what it is more? It's a dad.
Good luck, yeah.
Yeah, it's dads dating.
So dads are looking to date each other.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Okay. And I almost don't want to say too much because it's just like lovely and wonderful and ridiculous.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's like a relationship simulator, and it's so much fun. I don't know if you've played it, Patrick.
I have, yeah. I actually had the directors on our podcast a couple weeks ago. I love the different dads that they have on it. It's fantastic.
Oh, isn't it so much fun? I want to play it instead of working today.
Well, were you guys fans of Game Grumps before you started working with them? Were you familiar with everybody that you were working with? Because everybody on this is kind of an internet personality. Jesse Cox and Michelle Morrow as well.
Yeah, we're not as plugged into that corner of or do that, but we did get to know them via this project, but then it was just awesome, getting to know their esports circles, and then the Game Grumps they're so much fun. We were like, I didn't even really know that Let's Play was a thing, and it's huge, so it was just like this amazing learning experience about even what that is, and then getting to know Danny and Arin, who are the Game Grumps, was just so much fun. They're really sweet, interesting people.
Yeah, we're huge fans. Huge fans now. They're great, and they were so much fun to work with. And
we went to one of their live shows, and we were like, I think in the very last row of the audience on some bleachers, just sort of like getting to know their fans and stuff, who were all really fun, positive people. Like it was just great to like feel the energy of that many really young people who were just happy about being there and seeing the Grumps.
Yeah, and they're so positive. Like their live shows in particular, and what they do on their channel. There's so much humor, but a lot of it just is really optimistic. Mm-hmm. Like that's just who they are, which is really, really nice in video game culture. And and in terms of them on the show, I don't think that they'd had a ton of experience with some scripted things like that. And they came on and they were amazing. Like they worked so hard. They're so much fun to watch, so much fun to work with.
Because we were throwing like long, like Harmon-esque speeches at them, and it could have gone very, very wrong. But they were both like great actors, really natural, really just themselves. Because acting is really hard, just to try to like look like normal on camera. And they were just were great. It was so awesome.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for them at all, but I personally think it's really, really hard to do something that's that close to yourself and have it feel real and feel like a fun performance. And they absolutely nailed that. Like, I think that's such a hard line to walk, and they crushed it.
Nice. You spoke of the Game Grumps fan base. They obviously have a very rabid, avid fan base, but you guys are used to that, I would imagine, after working on Rick and Morty now. So you guys are working on another space of lots of expectation, I guess, when you guys are going into these things. It's a known property in a way. Do you feel like working with Dan Harmon, and now you get to work with him again on this? I mean, Dan Harmon is exec producing this YouTube Red show. But what'd you take from Rick and Morty experience into this Good Game experience?
I think we took thinking about it in terms of actual writing, Rick and Morty is really rigorous. Like, it's a lot of rewriting, it's a lot of re-breaking story. And it was just the two of us on Good Game working with Dan, and I like to think we brought some of that over to Good Game, where we weren't afraid to, even at the last minute, throw out big storylines and try again. So I think that carried over, and that's absolutely something we took from working with Harmon. And I would say, in terms of sort of like the audience reaction stuff for Rick and Morty, I think it did definitely, like, we have much thicker skin now in knowing that not everyone is going to love everything, and that's totally fine. It's also, I think, just an interesting world we live in now, where if one fan is really angry, they can directly get at you on Twitter. So there's also, I think, the perception of like, oh no, people hate me, but it's just like, a couple of angry trolls online, and everything else is super positive. So I think as Good Game rolls out, there will be people who love it, and there'll be people who definitely hate it. But so it's sort of, I think, learning not to take that personally. The Grumps actually were just on Harmontown, and we're telling everybody about what is that app? It's called Herp Herp Derp. It's a Google Chrome extension, and it turns all YouTube comments into Herp Derp 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 Derp. So you can, and which is great, because I think we both try to. We say we're going to not read the comments, but then you look at the link and you can't help it. You start scrolling down, and it's just sort of seeing that nonsense keeps me from, because then you can ultimately, like, if a comment's getting a lot of attention, you can click on it and see what it is, but that barrier to entry, like, oh, I'm going to have to click, is enough to keep us sane. It's really nice. And in a weird way too, I think the Good Game announcement, like, helped prepare us for how certain annoying fans were going to be with Rick and Morty, because when that press release went out, it named us as Rick and Morty writers, and that was our first experience with, mean people on Twitter. So that and that was months and months ago, and then by the time Rick and Morty came out and we were getting some of that again, it was like, we're used to this. This is old hat. So it's like these two projects working together prepared us for internet hate.
That's so sad. Oh my god.
A little bit. It's fine. It's entertaining for the most part. Like, sometimes there's some people that are like a little scary, but for the most part, they're just ridiculous.
Right. Well, the internet doesn't lack for trolls, that's for sure. What it does lack, though, for is, there's not a lot of fictional or scripted takes on esports, and now as it has kind of gone mainstream in a way, it seems like you guys are on the front of really bringing this into a scripted world, kind of taking a fun, winking look at esports. What is your guys' experience with esports? Do you guys watch esports? Are you into esports at all? How is it to lampoon something that's kind of not that known to so many people?
Yeah, well, Eric and I actually, our first job working together as writers was at a video game company, and then both of our husbands work in video games, so we were kind of familiar with that world. And then when we moved to LA, my husband started working for Riot Games, and Erica and I think in like 2011 or 2012, went to a League of Legends tournament in Anaheim. And it wasn't just League of Legends. It was like a bunch of different games. But the League of Legends corner of that giant convention center space was packed with people. And we were like, what is this world? We have to tell a story here. And it was insane. And I think it was a year later that we went and saw the World Championships in the Staples Center. So we have been paying attention to it since it sort of became this phenomenon. Yeah, and then Erica fell down a hole.
We were working on a different script about esports, actually, and so, like, I started playing League for research, and it spiraled into, like, 4 or 5 hours a day, like that, like, just one more game kind of thing, because in League of Legends and other MOBAs like that, there is such a sense of, like, almost like excitement. It feels like a basketball game or something where you're playing and it's the beginning and you're like, like just building up and then it's all like exciting and you're going towards the end, and it's just so easy to just like play one more game. Anyway, but I had to uninstall so I could keep writing.
So you could go outside and enjoy sunshine.
Yeah.
And I think too, like, that really helps because then it's like we were aware of how it was becoming this insane thing internationally, but also had that like more intimate one-on-one experience with the games themselves. And I think that's probably the key to telling these stories. Is it's, we talked about, I mean, if only we were we love like something like Friday Night Lights. Like, it's not a comedy, and it's like a physical sport, and it's very, very different in terms of how they're telling stories. But what's the same is that it gives you it taps into that feeling of what it's like to be involved in a team and a sport like that. So if you know nothing about football, you can enjoy that show.
Right.
And so I hope we were able to do that in this show.
And one thing I would say that really will set this apart from any show or movie that has tried to tackle video games is when you cut to game footage and actually looks good. So Michelle and Jesse also created, with the help of Mark Gibbons, who's this incredible artist who worked at Blizzard and a whole bunch of other places, this amazing game called Killcore, which is the game within the show. Because if we were going to license a different game, then we'd have to sort of like do their bidding, and they probably wouldn't like it if we insulted some of their characters and stuff like that. So just making this game within the show, it's really cool, and I'm just really excited for people to see that, because in other shows, like in Grandma's Boy or something, like, when you like cut to the game footage,
playing on
like,
Super Nintendo.
I remember the first time I watched Grandma's Boy was after we had worked in games, and I was like, you can't do this all by yourself. You don't have one guy and 90 QA guys.
Or you watch something and they're like pressing the wrong buttons, and you're like, that's not how you play that game that you see on the screen. So this, like, it all matches up, and like the game honestly looks better than like some actual real games.
The game is gorgeous. The characters are great, and the game has such a awesome sense of humor too, which was really fun. So it's like even the game itself is kind of laughing at itself, and those style of games, but in the best way. Like it's on the side of people who play those games. So it's not laughing, at you for liking MOBAs. It's making jokes that people who like MOBAs are going to recognize and laugh at. And Michelle Morrow, she's one of the main cast members on the show, so she knows how to make it look like you're playing these games. And so she would help other cast members, figure it out. Like, no, you need to be clicking your mouse like this. You need to be touching these, these keys on the keyboard. And then one of our other cast members, this amazing woman, Jade, she does more homework than anyone I've ever met in my life. And she not only knew how to fake playing for shots and things, like she knew when she was supposed to be going faster or slower, and she knew when she was supposed to be clicking the mouse more or less. It was amazing. So hopefully that attention to detail will shine through.
Getting true authenticity in this show. So am I to believe then that there's an actual Killcore game? And if so, are people going to be able to play this real game?
There is not currently, but I feel like there should be. Yeah,
we were able to work with an existing game and sort of reskin it, which makes it sound like as if you just put a new coat of paint on something, whereas actually it was just that one of the big barriers to making video games look great in television and film is partially it is so hard to make a game. So to animate it and allow us to do what we need to do and like have different plays in the game, it was kind of like we set up almost, if you think about stop motion, kind of, where we had all these 3D models on a map. And because it was a game engine we were borrowing from another game, you were able to play and move them around, and we were able to animate that way. But it's not a video game. It's not a functioning game in terms of like actually keeping track of hit points and this and that and the other thing. So it's really close to something you could play, but it is kind of like a game we made to play for the camera.
Yeah, and the game design docs are all there. They're beautiful. So, like, I feel like Michelle and Jesse could go pitch this game to some company and snap them up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's ready to go, but it needs probably, like, you know, another team of scripting engineers and stuff to make it
staff
a reality.
of 200, not a big barrier, a couple $1 million. So, yeah.
No big deal. What was it? What's the difference been working on a YouTube show as opposed to? Well, now you guys have worked on network shows. You've worked on movies before. How's it been different working in the YouTube space? Is it always the same when you come in, or has this been a totally different experience?
Well, at the physical YouTube space itself, there's always something going on. There's always, like, a party because someone's just hit 1 million viewers. It's a bizarre place to work, but really fun too.
Yeah, because I think when you're on a normal lot with stages, it's just, you know, there's golf carts and it's kind of sedate outside the actual lot where you're filming. But at YouTube, it's just like there's so much going on at once everywhere because everyone's creating content in a different way. And then they have built, I think it's 2 or 3, like, more traditional sound stages where we would build our sets and do a lot of filming there. But yeah, and in terms of, like, the actually, like, working with them bigger picture wise, yeah, it's different in the ways that are good, but, like, in the ways that, you know, you would want it to be the same. It is very, you work with executives, you get notes, you know, and that kind of thing. And yeah,
it seems like the rollout and, like, how you actually watch and consume the show will probably be the most different thing because making it was pretty close to how, you know, like, other shows are made.
Right.
And yeah, I would say the only other difference besides, like, the craziness of the space is that YouTube's moving a lot faster than anywhere else that we've worked with. They which is great in terms of you have to make decisions quickly, which often leads to awesome things creatively, and, like, you're actually going to turn it out and make it. There's none of this sort of, like, hemming and hawing and second guessing. You get something out there, which is just awesome and exciting and feels great. And then you're also working at a really intense pace, which you know has its drawbacks. But yeah, I think the pace is probably a huge difference.
When they're rolling these out, are we getting all of the episodes like you would on a Netflix, or is this going to be released weekly? How does it work? Is it different? I don't even know if you would know the answer to this, but is it different per YouTube Red series? Are there different agreements? How is Good Game going to be rolled out?
So the pilot's going to come out on August 30th, and the pilots for all YouTube Red series you can watch without a subscription. And then that same day, the second episode is going to come out if you have a subscription, and then it's going to come out weekly on Wednesdays after that. And the thing that I'm still not totally sure of is I don't know what time of day it's going to come out. I think that's another big difference. Is like it's the day it's released and you watch it when you want. So it's not going to be rolled out at once like a Netflix show, but it's also not going to maybe be like a network show where you tune in at 8. Right. You know, like it could air, like they could both be available at 9 a.m. on the 30th. And that's going to be figured out by, I think, people at Game Grumps, like, based on their algorithms and, like, when their audiences check things and all of that kind of math that is completely over our heads.
All right, well, I have one last question for you guys, and it's unrelated to the new project, but I want to know, who's your favorite Vindicator?
Oh, this is so hard. Well, I think we're caught between the same two, so it's like I feel like there's 2 of us, so we can cheat. Million Ants,
obviously,
and Alan Rails.
Oh, nice.
Because I love, like, the ridiculousness of the ghost train and that backstory. You know,
there's Million Ants. There's so many questions about how everything works, what they could do. Building there's just a lot. I have a lot of follow-up questions about Million Ants.
I feel like they're too good. They can't be gone. They gotta come back.
About how Million Ants is like a guy, but he's run by a queen. He has a queen on the inside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's something really interesting there.
Yeah.
Do you guys have this backstory of Million Ants? Have you written out his entire tragic superhero origin?
I mean, I think, like, it started I think we started with the idea that there are a million ants and they come together to make a superhero, and then through like the writing of the script and coming up with how to kill him, and the idea being that, you know, he can always produce more ants and that's part of his superpower, but if you get the queen, so it's probably some kind of mutant alien hybrid queen ant.
A picnic gone wrong, maybe at a nuclear facility. Yeah. Or there might be a whole like dimension where everyone is made of a million ants, and it's just, that's what's sort of like so fun about Rick and Morty, like sort of the Scary Terry episode where you just see Scary Terry go home and he's with his family and stuff like that. Maybe there is a world where it's all like, you know, a classroom full of million ant children. Or that's weird too, because like, why would they grow? Like, would you have a baby million ants and then it grows into, I don't know. Yeah, see, there's just so many questions.
So many questions.
And then like, you could probably have other bug colonies.
Yeah.
So you have million ants and million locusts, and they're hanging out. But I do love about Million Ants too, like his empathy and the way he can sense things, but it's also just kind of on the surface.
Yeah.
Like I sense that, you know, it's wet outside or something.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have sold me on
Sorry.
we need a Million Ants spin-off show, is what I'm hearing.
I want like the Defenders, but with Vindicators.
Yes.
Because it's like I could see 10 episodes about Alan Rails that starts with the train killing his parents, and you get to him being like a ghost man with a ghost train. And then, Million Ants, where did he come from? Is he an ant outcast? And then in 4 years, we get the show where they fight together.
Mm-hmm. Big plans.
I love it. I'm all aboard that ghost train. Let's make it happen. All right, well, thank you so much, you guys, for coming on. I'm looking forward to the show when it rolls out.
Thank you. This was great. Yeah.
All right, well, it was a pleasure talking to you guys again.
Yeah, you too.